inch of that with buildings and carports and stuff like that. So is there a kind of a limit on how much size it could be? I mean, most people out in the county have 4 and 5 and 10 acre lots, you know,
So I was told.
but if
that
they have a
if
1
you
acre.
get Over what, 400 square feet, you gotta get a permit, right?
200, but we do per zoning district and particularly residential, commercial, have a percentage of impervious surface. Yes, for residents.
Okay, that's good to know.
So you've got the backside of that, there's some basic. Definitions that are in there. On the third page. Camper. So campers and tents and motorhomes and trailers and all that are included in the one definition. That has not been helpful for interpretation of the ordinance. Because campers and self-contained vehicles more than RVs and a tent. So tents pop up anywhere. RV. Really?
Well, it was weird, but it was at points, like, it
And
was almost like,
I don't know if they were permitted, but they were in the Effingham's Park or somewhere. Yeah.
wow.
It's like,
There where the old plumbing place and the car, junk cars were behind it.
down there.
it's like they needed some additional space for a short time.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
And Effingham at that time thought they might be gonna get the warehouse.
yeah. They didn't.
It moved down the Gulfstream Road.
So on the back page of 1954, we made a few changes to commercial firing range. We just said, individuals are charged either a daily fee or annual membership fee.
Any building or permit.
Everybody understand why that's there?
These facilities.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Should we just say or charge the fee? I mean, I hate to be a nitpicker, but I could say, okay, I charge monthly, so that doesn't apply to me. I mean, I just was curious why we needed
Yeah.
to like separate it out, like just say a fee.
Because some people will say an annual membership is not a fee.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're saying, oh, I just pay an annual membership. I don't pay a fee, like an association.
That's fine. I mean, I just,
Okay, I get where you're going. And then commercial riding stables, again, if they pay for the use of the land or facilities. That's just to separate that from folks that don't charge, that let folks have their horses over there or something like that.
what, can I back up on that then?
So what?
Just gonna back up real quick on that. So say I'm a dad of a daughter that likes horses, but I don't have room. So for me to give my neighbor $100 for my daughter's horse to be on their property, does that trigger them into now a defined commercial riding stable?
It does to some degree, yeah, I know.
I mean, because to me, like a commercial riding stable, if I was thinking about it, was like what,
We could say more than one. Or
yeah, it creates like some sort of intensity to it, like, you know, like a true structured riding school or something like that. That's, versus more so that's boarding, in my opinion. Like it's not that they're, it's not a stable and writing. Not an expert in that. And I actually, that's not from my own experience. I'm just thinking that I know there's a lot of places, a lot of people that have to do that. So
So let's put something like more than 5. Let's do that. 5 or more horses.
Well, we used to have David, you remember Jeff Wilkes? He always would, when someone was trying to get horses on their property, he'd always quote some sort of University of Georgia. You have to have so many square feet for a horse or something. Remember that?
yeah.
I do. I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
I mean, do we have in our just general, this is not a zoning ordinance thing. This is probably a livestock or animal ordinance or something.
So ag, we don't deal with, but most of the time this goes beyond ag because it's not trying to be.
Right.
And then for us, it's a rural business or a residential business or something like that.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to define is if you're just raising horses on your farm, or are you?
Well, I guess I'm thinking of like Blue Sky Acres, the nonprofit. They're going to have more than 5 horses out there that.
But they're already regulated as a business.
So it would be fine.
Yeah, there's a couple of them around.
Yeah. I mean, if nobody else has an issue with it, I just thought I'd bring it up. It just seems like guess until your neighbor has an issue, nobody knows there's an issue.
You know what, that's fine with us too.
I agree with that.
So down at the bottom, we just moved dry cleaning outfits out of underneath drive through. I don't know why they were there, but nonetheless, that's what we did. So on the next page, what you see highlighted in yellow, it's gonna be when we figure out the rest of Article 3, they're just gonna fill in the blanks, okay? Probably sooner than later, the term of single family residential will not be allowed to be used anymore, but we're not there yet to get that.
Single family residential is not going to be used anymore.
What is that against woke or something or?
Dwelling unit, dwelling group, those are good for everybody down there. So on the next page, the back page of that, I want to take you to family. Where it says one person or a group of 2 or more persons occupying a dwelling unit as a single family unit with a single set of kitchen facilities. Most folks' definition of family is a little bit more specific than that. It includes how many outside the generational boundary they go, 2 sets, 3 sets out. And how many folks can actually be in a single home that constitutes a family? Do you want to expand on that or wait till that happens?
Let me ask you this question. Suppose you got a house, single family house with a kitchen and then an outdoor kitchen with a porch. And then you got 2 kitchens.
Right? I think kitchen facilities should not be able to define a house. I think that you should have square footage and or bedrooms that define what a constitute. And I say that because septic tanks are based upon bedrooms, they're not based upon kitchen facilities.
Right.
So there needs to be some consistency with state law there. But I just know that there are some places that you can get 18 family members in a double wide mobile home.
There's some that's happening in this county right now. They might not be families.
That's why we just need to be clear on the definition. So I just didn't know if you want to expand on that, we'll bring it back to you or something like that. Or you just want to read it along.
Well, to me, it seems like the intent of that one was to define like a transient kind of, well, I guess not with the YMCA and YWCA. A hotel, motel, tourist home. I mean, that's more of a, not a dwelling, but it's a accommodation kind of thing, right?
YMCA was back in dwelling group,
Yeah,
Right.
and then dwelling group.
sorority houses, fraternity houses. Rooming houses.
Wait, well, maybe I missed what we were talking. I thought that was what we were talking about.
Talking about families.
Family down the next page where it says family.
In the middle,
Uh,
sorry, but that's okay.
that's all about kitchens too, so I got.
Yeah, it
confused.
does. I actually backed up and was rereading dwelling group. Trying to see the difference.
I don't really know how to say it. To me, a family is not just a group of people, but they're connected by marriage or birth or some of that nature.
They have a relationship more
Yeah,
than,
that's a family.
More
not-
DNA.
more than friends.
Yeah. I don't know how you legally put that down where you don't.
Well, there's some good ones out there, we'll bring you some if you want to change.
Well, let's look at something different.
Okay.
I hate to back up when we got past something, but can I ask about multifamily and single family? Like, do we anywhere in our ordinance contemplate duplexes?
Say that again.
Duplexes.
We do have duplexes as a use in the table of permitted use.
And I see it's defined up there, right? We've got, yeah,
So Article 5 that is not on the agenda tonight, that was gonna be. Article 5 is the table of permitted use.
yeah.
So we're revamping that. Yours was pretty limited. And then if something didn't fall in that category, it just made it difficult to define what some of that stuff was. Like gas stations with gas.
Yeah, so you took.
As opposed
to convenience stores. Yeah.
So we've been going through the. But we gotta get the definitions to make sure we get the penalty. You wanna change multifamily?
No, well, I just want to make sure we're accommodating for a duplex and be specific about what do we consider that, right? Is that a single family or multifamily use? And then, I mean, there's a lot of places that allow duplexes inside of single family areas because I know it seems strange, but you know, if it's truly a duplex with 2 units on one lot, you know, everybody's worried about affordability and things of that nature. That's a way for people to offset some of the cost of owning, but not very common here, I know. And then, you know, single family attached, do we define that anywhere? I see class A, class B, detached single family, but I think we mostly consider what I consider single family attached. I guess most people in the ordinance maybe even considers that multifamily, but a townhome, for instance.
Yeah, we do not define that in here.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, a townhome platted on a lot that's got lot lines down the common party wall that each has a lot. That is single family because they own a lot and they have 1 unit on that lot
I think we-
attached. Yeah.
We got condos in town.
Right.
And townhouses are currently listed under multifamily.
Where
I've got it pulled up and
Multifamily dwelling.
I got garden for them. That's not the same as what this looks like, huh?
And to speak to
There's 2
garden,
multifamilies?
Steve, to speak to garden apartment, I think there's more to that definition
Yeah.
than what is shown there too.
the definition is not complete for garden apartment.
I'm gonna confuse you a little more when you get ready.
Okay, hold on. Oh, that's all class B is what that means. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So when we go to multifamily, in my mind, that's a building with 4, 5, 3, 6, whatever units in it that families can inhabit. So going back to what you said about the people in a mobile home trailer, multifamily could be one apartment designed for 5 families in one apartment. If we don't clarify that somehow.
Yeah, a lot of the ordinances that we've deal with, define multifamily, not so much based off of the structure itself, but off of the number of dwelling. And it usually is based off of kitchens. I mean, it is, it's based off of what that unit is. This is a specific unit per the lot, right? Whatever it is, right? Because some of the newer, the biggest, hottest trend on rental is what we call build to rent, which is, looks like a bunch of single family homes all on one piece of property, right? So that is, most people probably look at it and think that's single family, but it's not. It's just multiple residential units on one piece of property. So I just think we do need to give it a lot of thought, because multifamily means a lot of different things to a lot of people, and it can get people scared about things that maybe they don't need to be scared about sometimes, right? And you think about, when we just lump everything in, that's why I brought up the whole townhome. I mean, our R3 is usually a townhome style development, but it's called multifamily, so everybody thinks it's.
A perfect example is that Jasper Village, it's been renamed, but that's one lot with multiple.
That is multifamily in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. But I think all these discussions on how we define residential uses are very important, and
They are very important. And when we get to the single permitted uses, where they go.
Yeah.
Okay, I mark that up. Okay, so the L's, you got any problem with anything under the L's?
What about the gas station one? Because gas station doesn't talk about selling bubble gum in there, whereas that's almost like a convenience store, but then they can't sell gas. Convenience store can't sell gas. Pardon me. Yeah, no gas pumps. But a gas station can sell gas, but it can't sell sundries. It can't sell ketchup and things like that. Doesn't-
So to me, the convenience store is more of the Dollar General.
Yeah.
That's the new.
You don't know what sundries are?
No gas pump, no alcohol, just everyday needs.
That's a convenience store.
That's good.
But now I go to a Parker's gas station and I want to get some bread and some beer and some mustard and ketchup, which is sundries.
Right?
Condiments. Condiments. Sundries.
Yeah.
And it's not permitted.
And that's under a gas station?
Yeah, it's designated for use of the retail sale or supply of fuel, lubricants, air and water and other operating commodities for motor vehicles. Installation of such vehicles, but not including space, other facilities for the storage, painting, repair, refinishing bodywork and other servicing of motor vehicles.
All right, so I'm gonna write beside that, expand to include groceries, right?
Yeah, because that's what they do. They get you in there. And reduce. the
that sounds
rate
like,
because they
yeah,
want you to
somebody
buy
wrote that
groceries.
when they thought that somebody was going to contaminate that. Seriously, they thought that there was a need to separate food from fuel cells,
Right.
which I don't think we have that same concern anymore.
So the only one I can think of that would eliminate Max and Geico. Cause he's got a place you can do repair facility. And you can't do any repairs. When I come out gas stations, every gas station has a place to change oil and.
Yeah.
Do that kind of stuff. And now what we're saying, you can't do that anymore.
What-
He doesn't, does he sell gas anymore?
I haven't been in there in a while.
I don't think he does.
Sell everything.
I don't
That's
think,
a non-conforming use.
I don't think he sells gas anymore.
But suppose that Brad decided he wanted to build a gas station and do all changes at it. And go back to the way it used to be years ago. I'm just picking on Brad, but I'm just saying, suppose somebody decides they want to do that, we're gonna make that where that can't happen anymore.
That's up to y'all.
I mean, do we just need a definition for a service station? And then that way, that's what that is, right? It was a service. You were actually getting services
Yeah.
beyond just fueling.
I'd be good with that.
And a separate bill.
I think gas stations evolved to can be convenience stores.
Yeah.
That's what-
Yeah.
uh,
Or most people call it that at
Is
least.
Dollar General considered a
That's a
convenience store
It is,
by this definition?
it is today, right? I do not have a definition of service.
But they could put gas pumps outside because they're thinking, hey, we gotta get people in here. We could put electrical chargers for the EV cars. Because gasoline stations are probably gonna be something of the past in the next.
That's maintenance. You can't do that. You're maintaining the battery.
Oh,
That is something we probably need to define.
I'm writing it down. I'm gonna say include a definition of service station.
Well, I'm saying we're talking so much about gas. We need to, if we're looking to the future, we need to figuring out how you define or capture recharge stations. Or charging a fee for recharge on your site, no matter what you are.
Electrical gas.
yeah,
Right.
you gotta have EV station. Charging ports.
And then you need to put a time limit.
That limit on what?
They need these things. How long you want them to stay?
But wouldn't we let the market dictate that? I mean, the owner's gonna charge them to stay. I mean,
Some are 3 hours, some are 8 hours. What do you?
Oh, you mean how long the car stays there?
No overnight parking?
Months, because it's gonna break down. Piece of shit.
Well, I think if I was the owner of the unit, it would be a 1 hour charge. Because if a guy decides he wants to sit there 8 hours to charge his battery and it only takes 2 hours, you lost a lot of business. Which I think no matter of time, we won't see them no more anyway. I don't believe they're gonna take off like most people think they are.
Okay, we'll put it in. I will be right.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be, it's some sort of form of propellant you gotta have.
Unless they come up with a battery that'll run 600-700 miles, they do that, it might take off, but these 200-mile batteries. Not for me.
Well, we'll put it in the EV
Yeah.
charge station.
Yeah.
Can it be in conjunction with a service station?
I would think that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Parkers in a lot of places has them out on the perimeter.
They do.
You know, so
Yeah.
back in a parking spot.
I think where you're gonna have to, in my opinion, is where else are they gonna be allowed? Because everybody's gonna start looking to make
They're gonna
money
be at
off of it,
hotels,
right?
They're gonna be
I think-
at hospitals.
Hotels will absolutely, restaurants, sit down restaurants in particular, I think will have them. Any place you have to linger for a bit of time, they're probably gonna have them. Unless the industry completely fails.
All right, I've got that. Keep moving on then. So back to the Ls and Ms. Anything else? Except for I've got to clarify that.
Or an else. Yeah, yeah, because-
You can look at the manufacturing one, or you can leave that alone.
Oh.
Well, you got a heavy and a light then. And so that's gonna pertain to industrial, so that everything being industrial, there's gonna be a light industrial and a heavy industrial.
It is, we just have to make the zoning districts correspond. But right now they do not. We just have I1.
Right.
I mean, to me, the definition of light and heavy is correct. I don't know about everybody else. It seems like to me.
So maybe we have to adjust the table for mixed use. Okay.
So with that being the case, am I seeing warehousing is not in there? So that definition of that we've been debating about warehousing being a heavy industrial use will no longer be considered that.
Should be a light industrial.
Depends on what's in it, right?
Well, I just,
I get you.
right. I mean,
So.
I don't disagree. To me, it's not heavy, right? But I think that's the way it's been interpreted.
So we do not have the definition of a warehouse. We need to improve.
Well, in my mind, it fits in light industrial unless they're manufacturing a heavy product. Like my facility is heavy.
Mhm.
We're taking a bunch of materials and we're making
You're
a
taking
finished product.
raw material.
Raw materials and making a finished product. Most of these warehouses are storing
Right.
goods that have been produced somewhere else.
Correct.
To move through, and in my mind, that's light industrial.
Some are coming forward with manufacturing contained solely inside the warehouse.
That's heavy.
That's more of assembly of I'm taking this widget and putting it into this sprocket and
If dust or noise does not leave the building, I'm good with it.
So what do you think this plant down on Fort Howard Road that's gonna build fenders and bumpers for the Hyundai plant in Bryan County? What is that gonna be under? Light?
Heavy, they're taking a raw product and turning it into a finished good.
Of the stamp, yeah. Now, you got somebody else that's taking the accessories from the stamp, and all the excess metal. And gathering all together on the site and bringing it, putting it into a cube here in the county and shipping it off on credit. Now, some would say that manufacturing. We know it.
That's a reclamation.
I agree with it. I agree. It's recycled,
Yes.
but it's still noise.
Well, to me, a light industrial, the noise is contained in like a truck or a trailer. Not a heavy manufacturing where you got vibrators and cameras and all kind of noisy material. If they can contain that sound to the building and use dust to do to the building, I'm good with it being light, but the minute it goes more than, 60 or 70 decibels outside the building, then I'm calling it heavy in my mind.
Right, because some people get called. with that. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that the decibel noise meets the criteria for making it light to heavy.
Well, I should say that, like hearing protection is required after X number of hours of 80 decibels or above. So our stuff, we have to try to keep it, we require hearing protection, but we keep it under 80 decibels. They learn a lot better. But we're still heavy because of the nature of what we do.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes, you are. Anything other in the M's?
How about metal plating and smelting, and establishing from engaging in all types of electroplating? Well, there's a powder coating place down in my district, 5th district on Goshen, off of Goshen behind the old choo-choos
It's in the commercial park.
in that commercial park there.
That's
They're
powder coating
electroplating, they charge the metal with electric and throw the powder up there.
Yeah.
So that would be under that category?
It would, I would think that.
Not making anything.
You're not making anything. You said.
There's really not much difference when they're doing that plating and painting. It's usually, it's not much difference than painting, other than it's a lot more durable and the process of application is considerably different.
Okay.
They electrify the metal and then they spray a powder and it attaches to it and then they bake it
That's right.
in a big oven.
Well,
They're finishing out of
takes a lot of
manufacturing.
chemicals though, like nickel and copper and
Yeah, they're using heavy metal.
Well, the definition of heavy metal is you can wash a tractor trailer on concrete and what comes off of it is heavy metal. So you can take that heavy metal wherever you want to go with it.
I think your guy down there, he's like a paint shop. Lancaster's over in Guyton, they do a lot of building, fabrication, welding, construction of metals, and then they coat it. Wrought iron, things like that. So that to me he would be more like the metal plating.
Your guy would be metal plating and my guy would just be,
Yeah,
Paint shop?
I would say he would fall under a paint, just a.
All right, so go into the past the M's. And again, multi-family jobs, we check that. Anything on the N's or O's or P?
Just as I mentioned about the multifamily deal.
Yeah, we need to change.
I mean, there's just, yeah, there's some in there that I don't. It all depends on how it's platted, you know. A duplex and a townhouse can be single family.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess one thing and you're talking, said there would be a new use table. I mean, I wonder, do we need to look at like some standardized accepted, you know, use like from APA or something, you know, how they have like that is what you're doing. Okay. Because then if there's a use in that, then we've got to come back and hopefully there's some standardized definitions that will reflect that we can adjust all those based off of that. Okay.
And then I'd really like to use North American land classification table, but we would be there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I have pulled up. But it is helpful because then you're relying on not just local definitions and local, right?
I don't think we're there yet. We'll get there. So,
We're in the R's.
yeah, where they are. Let's talk about the R.
So under racing track, it needs to be paved roadway and or dirt roadway.
And we got a dirt track.
We do not, but Scriven County does.
Okay.
we used to have a go-kart track. That
Yeah, we
was
did.
dirt.
It was dirt.
You want to say a racing track is something that charges it admission. Okay.
I don't, because I think the intensity of the issue would be, I don't care if it's free, it's going to be noisy in my backyard,
Sure.
right?
Well, it's not a race track, it's, they don't charge, right? Okay. So residential business, you guys know that we struggle with that on occasion, right? We got a couple of them coming up tonight, right?
Got a residential and 2 rural.
So as the zoning administrator, how do you feel about the definition of residential business?
You know, in my experience, residential business is kind of tricky because it doesn't sort of like home occupation plus. There was a time where we were talking about considering maybe expanding it to also include use of an accessory structure, but then, how do you stop it before it gets too big and becomes, rural business, but on a smaller lot? I think that
Most of the issues we have with residential businesses, to me, stems from traffic. Everybody says there's increased traffic in the neighborhood, too many cars parked in the yard. That's what I normally hear. With resident, I don't know how you limit that.
That should be self-limiting by the ordinance. There is a restriction on the number of customers who can be at your home at one time.
And I didn't see that in there.
No, not under the definition, but under the actual, I think it's 315B. So that should monitor itself. I think where I see that anyway is more when we start running into daycare, which is sort of its own thing. But with residential businesses, you know, I've seen it very appropriately work out for an in-home salon, for example. That's pretty good. It does get kind of tricky. For example, the first item tonight is the residential business for the massage services and spa. So that's come back.
I thought we denied that already.
Yes, and then the application was revised and resubmitted.
Looked pretty much the same to me.
Should that go under, when you mentioned massage, should that go under personal services?
Yes, that would definitely be personal services, which can be accommodated by residential business. I mean, that's fine. Again, the in-home salon or photographers who, you know, maybe want people to just come and pick up or pick out their photos while they're there.
Hmm.
It's,
Well, I mean, if I was
So massage.
open a landscape architecture company and I was my own self, I'd have a residential business that I would want to be able to have a customer come to my little studio space inside my, now I'd probably be asking to do it in an accessory structure. I would be coming back and asking y'all for that. But I mean, that is the intent to me of what it is. So some sort of limiting, and we're trying to, right? No more than one employee who does not reside there. That's the only limitation really in the definition, but you're saying elsewhere in the code that governs residential businesses, there's more limitations related to number of
correct. It restricts
Yeah,
limits
the
of
size of the
customers, it
property and
restricts deliveries.
Yeah.
The signage.
The signage is restricted.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think the definition is good.
Mhm.
You know, if you want to sort of for homework, cast your brains out and look at the overall ordinance, residential business itself might be something worth looking at, but the definition is, I feel, a good summary of intent.
What if somebody applies to do a residential, this is probably covered somewhere else in the code, to do a residential business out of a apartment they're renting, since it says the home they reside in, that says nothing about ownership.
They would need the application, they would need to act as agent for the owner of the property. And even with home occupation, if you are a renter, you still have to supply a letter of permission from the property owner.
Okay.
Okay, keep going through the R's and get to the S's.
So what's the difference between RV parks and campsites versus the one we looked at earlier?
I would take off the word campsite under our definition of RV. RV park. And then I would take out the word.
Tents.
tent. Yeah.
We still haven't put 10 anywhere.
We will. Right, we need a definition of a tent. Could be a yak, could be a yurt, could be all the above, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, there's also park models that are basically permanent RV kind of things that go in RV parks all the time that are rented. Yeah.
And these are all other things that jurisdictions outside of us have gone through. So we should just take their lessons and add to ours.
California lets you have them down the side of the street. I see, I seen.
So does Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
So I'm gonna put one on Laurel Street tomorrow.
Put a
Okay,
10
so
out front of
the
your
definitions
store.
of sign, those are actually.
Don't care,
pretty
it's the
good.
city.
Once y'all go through them, but they are pretty good.
What was that one, Steve?
Signs,
Oh, signs,
and then all the different kind of signs that are out there.
awnings, banners, billboards.
The ones that matter to us are temporary.
What about those big inflatable caricatures of apes and wolves and whatever?
That aren't associated with a holiday.
No, I mean, everyone,
About the blow ups.
Yeah.
not, yeah, they're like a
They have
big
the sand in
giant,
them all, this guy.
not that guy, the waiver, but they like,
The new place in Rankin that just opened up, the oil change place, they got a big inflatable tire out
They do
there,
have a
so.
big tire there, don't
Yeah.
they?
yeah, and
Something like that.
Rankin Chevrolet, they put out a big Carfax has got a mascot of a
Carfax, yeah.
fox. And he's got a big giant fox out there.
I saw that one too.
I tried to put a big lucky dog inflatable on my roof, which was the mascot of the Aaron's Network, and the city wouldn't allow it.
Just tell them it's your pet.
So in our definition, that would be a temporary or a portable sign.
Portable sign?
Now,
So it doesn't have a timeline on it, but it says a limited, limited to what, 5 years?
well, so I think that in the sign permit, I think it has to fill in like what portable would be.
So if someone puts one of those blow up signs, fans drooping all around and falling,
Right.
he has to go get a permit for that?
Well, here's the interesting thing, Steve, that we came up at, actually at Magistrate Court was, we did run into these folks had taken a very large sign for their business, mounted it to a trailer and said, well, it's not a sign because it's portable and we can move it around.
Right.
And the judge said, no, it is a sign, go get a permit. And I said, no, it's, that's not something we can permit.
Well.
So that wasn't a portable sign?
Was that?
Was it that wasn't a portable sign?
They were claiming it was a portable sign. I rather thought that it was trailer decoration.
There was a truck in Savannah that used to go around and the people would rent space on it and it would change all the time. It was like one of those signs that all of a sudden everything flipped and it was another ad.
So we call that changeable copy. But it's still portable, so now it's portable changeable copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got billboards that are digital, right?
Mhm.
Very distracting.
So Katie and Steve, like renting several, all those things, blow up sign looking things they got, they get a permit every time they put those out?
It's in the city.
In the city of
Well,
Rankin.
well, let's say it wasn't in the city. And so, and if you're off the right of way, why would you care?
So the point of caring about signs like that is they're just a distraction to the driver. So it's a safety issue that the county would want to address. I say that as long as they come in and say it's temporary for 30 days for like a grand opening or something like that. That's as long as I knew it was going away at a certain period of time, that would be fine as far as I was concerned.
You're gonna have a real hard time with that distraction of the driver. Because the number one distraction in the world is a cell phone. And that I see the policeman sitting at the stoplight, right? Okay,
Right?
so how can they give anybody a ticket?
They're not paying attention to the sign, are they?
No,
That's just poor advertising on their part.
That's
well, I mean, it's
official police.
it's just the guy that pulls up side of him says, how can you give me a ticket? You do this. And I say, I had a guy tell me that before, and I said, like the preacher that says, don't do as I do as I say do. The law is, you can't do it.
I agree.
You can make a citizen's arrest, 45.
So, I mean, that's, if it's temporary for a grand opening or something would be all I would really want. To do.
And that is a mechanism that we have, and it is 30 days, and you're able to draw that up to 3 times a year.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I just asking the question because I didn't understand.
Yeah, so you would have to submit, and then you'd have to give us a map and show us where all your wacky waving inflatable tube guys are going, or campaign signs, or whatever the case may be.
And then, so under the S's, does anybody have anything under the S's they want to talk about?
How do we use special exceptions?
So we really don't. We use conditional uses and not special exceptions. I know it's in there.
Do we have a slaughterhouse in this county?
Well, depends on who you ask.
We do. I don't know if they permitted it. We got them. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
The one thing I will tell you that is gonna change here is the definition of subdivision. There's probably gonna be a definition of what we will call an intermediate subdivision. So it's not 0 to 3, it's more like 4 to 10. So that's something that came out of the retreat that we'll be talking about, okay?
But this says 2 or more.
Yeah. Yeah, so the division of one lot is not a subdivision, right?
Right.
Into 2? Yeah, there's a subdivision. You made 2 lots.
But not, so we have to go. But everybody has allowed up to 3. Right? That was the argument I heard last, no, 2 million.
Well, I thought a major subdivision was 3 or more lots.
A major subdivision in some parts of the ordinance is 3 or more, in some part of the ordinance it's 5 or more. So all that needs to be cleaned up. Because in the definition of subdivision,
I think it should be 5 or more.
in the subdivision, so appendix B
Hmm,
is the subdivision ordinance,
right.
that's gonna change too. There needs some clarity and consistency.
Well, should that subdivision definition, maybe we have to have it for the time being, but should it be as further defined in the subdivision ordinance as opposed to just trying to describe all that?
That's what I would like to see, yes.
See, I mean, that is a lot, and that, I mean,
It's,
I mean,
I'm gonna put as described in appendix B.
Hmm.
Because all of appendix B is.
well, where does a subdivision go from staff level to,
After 3.
or is there any, like, once it's through, if it doesn't require? It's just a sketch plan that would be reviewed, right? You're not reviewing the actual subdivision plat here, or you're.
So strictly speaking, yes, if it's a major subdivision, then it should go through the entire process, including sketch plan. We have procedurally used some discretion where cases of a true family split or the result of a will estate type divisions come in. But strictly speaking, if someone comes in and just wants to divide their property into 4 pieces so that they can sell it, they would have to go through the entire sketch plan, LDA, all infrastructure, all that.
And the ordinance also calls for preliminary plat approval.
Mhm.
So there's actually 3 steps.
Oh, who's approving that? Just a staff level?
Preliminary plat?
Mhm.
Yes. It's
Okay. I mean, because the last step we see in the process is sketch plan, right?
and then, right, for planning board, yes.
Hmm,
And they get the final plat.
right. Yeah, commission does. Yeah.
Okay, so anything in the T's, D's, or W, like I said, I think we need to add a definition of where at. And kind of as a subcategory of warehouse, I'd like to add a definition of flex building.
That's good.
It's probably gonna be defined by square footage and use. All those.
And probably a max square footage of the building itself and they used to. Again, I hate to back up again, but street, it specifically says public right of way. You can't have a private street. Yeah, I think we just, I don't know. It just, if there's a need for it, to me, it should be street comma public street and then another one street comma private, you know, so it's looking for
I
street.
would like to have a definition. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I would assume that reflects directly on the subdivision discussion on what's allowed.
Are you done, Rand?
Sorry,
Are
yes.
you- I mean, no, I'm glad you backed up. I want to go back to subdivision real quick. I guess under plats, section A, can you explain that bottom sentence? Providing that the same tract cannot be divided using this conditional exemption more than one time in any 12-month period. What does that mean?
So, recently, we just had an example of this. Where the remaining track was at the end of the 60-foot private road. And it was still, comparable size, but could be subdivided again. And served by the same road or another road that's attached to it. So the purpose of the ordinance to spread that out was to have a 12-month gap in between the ability of that remaining 10 acres to be subdivided again.
Yeah.
Kind of an awareness tool.
Does that need to be in the definition or does that need to be in the?
I think it's a. We'll have to look and see.
But that's all underneath that conditional exceptions section, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Well,
I get,
the word exception itself causes problems. Right.
yeah, I mean, I just feel like the subdivision should be a clean, simple definition of what a subdivision is and then defer to something else that gets into all the weeds on it.
Or the type of stuff, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with the definition of zoning administrator? All right, so we've got some changes. We'll bring them back to you. Okay. We'll add a few more in there.
I saw a new word in my vocabulary. So what is the definition of consanguinity? It's in
believe that's,
exceptions
Blood relation.
C under subdivision.
We'll refer to our English major on the subject.
Consanguinity?
I believe that is referring to by blood relation. So if 3 degrees, I'm not real good at my cousin grading, but by actual biological relation.
Word before.
So
But I understand why we have that, but there's no control over that. As soon as it happens, they can flip around and sell it tomorrow. So why does it even matter?
It's
Yes, consanguinity, the fact of being descended from the same ancestor.
Say that one more time.
The fact of being descended from the same ancestor. So it is referring to blood relations.
came from my loin.
Beg your pardon. So.
I don't need a recess.
If you want to take a break now, we can take a break and go into and then hit Article 3, we'll come back.
Sure. That's of such
Article 3.
exceptions shall be received. I don't know, subdivisions is really bogging me down.
It should.
Well, it's just, it's not, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the majority of what everything is based off of. I mean, you can't do a project without it. You can't do a families transfer of property. I mean, it's probably the most important thing for us to have right in our codes. Right, yeah.
You just delete subdivision from there and put PD.
Well, even with the PD, you still got to subdivide the land though.
Yeah, I didn't like the idea.
That's why you got a whole ordinance to define the processes. Yeah.
Put that PD there.
Yeah, I think it should be.
All right, we're gonna take a short recess.